we are taking one more, and oh, I feel like it is going to be a good one. It's Kristin, another patient soul. Thank you for waiting, Christian. Kristin is calling in from North Carolina. Pronouns are she, her. And what did you want to talk about today?
I thought you guys might like to hear about my past experience with hearing apparitions when I was younger. I would hear not only voices, I would also hear like sounds like crashes or shuffling. And when I would hear these sounds, I would always get an image in my head of a ghost, pretty much. And I was raised Catholic, so I would tell my family and friends about what I was hearing, what I was quote unquote seeing in my mind's eye. It's what I called it at the time. And they were all like, "Oh, that's a very special gift. That's very potent." And they were all very encouraging of the fact that these were
Wow.
apparitions I was experiencing.
Okay.
Okay.
That doesn't sound
And
super
that
Catholic
seemed
to me.
to it went on
Yeah,
for a
right.
long time, and it got to a point where I was waking up in the middle of the night to these sounds and these visions, if you will. I wasn't actually physically seeing them. It was sort of like I did a lot of mental gymnastics to not call it imagine, you know.
Right.
But it got to a point where I wasn't
sounds like
sleeping
that's kind
at
of
night.
what it is.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Sorry, carry on.
It got to a point where I wasn't sleeping, so my mom took me to. We lived not too far from this Catholic university, and she took me to one of the bishops who was on the faculty there.
Well, I was hoping the story was going
to try
somewhere
to
else.
get
Same.
some answers or to fix it. And so he did like this prayer over me, and he gave me like this really like cool looking heavy cross to like carry with me, and he gave me a little vial so I could carry around holy water, and that seemed to help. And the voices kind of went away, and whenever I did like hear something or experience something, I would take out that little vial of holy water and like toss it around, tell whatever ghost I thought was there to fuck off, and they would. And that was like the solution at the time. And it made the whole experience made my future deconstruction really, really hard.
I bet.
Really hard. That was constantly something that like I was discovering all these scientific and historical paleontological evidence of like the Bible being a book of fables and, you know, God not being real. And then I always had that, but what about those visions I had? Like,
Right.
it was
So to
hard
what
to
do you attribute them now?
rationalize away the experience I had.
If you're deconstructed, forgive me for jumping ahead there, but to what do you attribute them now?
Well, now I'm a writer. I write primarily horror. So
Okay.
now I attribute it to just having an overactive imagination and having this, like I hated horror movies when I was a kid, but I also had this sort of morbid curiosity about things.
Did you ever go?
So for instance,
did you ever go to an audiologist?
yeah. So
have you ever heard of
I have lag.
auditory?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you ever visit an audiologist, like get your hearing, not just your hearing, but so there is such a thing as auditory hallucinations that are, you know, again, manufactured by your brain, but are not actually there. I actually have a friend who suffers from that exact thing. So he's learned now that he will be hearing a fire or hearing lots of things that just literally aren't happening, but he hears them as if they are. It's just it's a side effect of other mental conditions. But I was just wondering if you ever considered that or had that checked.
I I can't really remember as a kid if I ever did that, but when I got older, I worked an entertainment job, and so they tested all of our hearing because we would be in haunted houses, like scaring people. Basically, that was my job. So they wanted to test our hearing before and after the event, so they could gauge like how much damage sound equipment did, if any, you know, that kind of thing. So I did have like an official test like later as an adult, and everything came up like normal. In fact, my hearing was considered like above average.
Right, which is it would make sense. But did you specifically let them know that you were suffering, that you had potential auditory hallucinations? Did you tell them that? Because it's a whole different it's a whole different thing
didn't
that
even think about it.
Like they're not that's not part of the standard test, right? And your hearing can be excellent. It's not actually it's not your hearing, it's just your brain manufacturing. So it's just like you've heard of visual hallucinations, right? Like visual hallucinations are when your brain is piecing together pictures that are not based on, those pictures are not based on external stimuli at all. It's compiling, your brain is filling in holes with other information and other data. Anyway, the same thing can happen. I'm not a medical expert by any stretch. I just because I've done a lot of investigation into hallucinations because of Jesus resurrection claims. I've heard quite a bit and learned a lot. That anyway, that you should put that maybe on your candidate list of potential things that it could have been, is that your brain was literally manufacturing sounds for you to hear, because that is a real thing.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of unfortunate that your family would take you instead of to a mental health professional to see, like, is there something wrong? Is there something we can help her with? Or as Paula Gia suggested, an audiologist, because like taking you to a church,
right?
Obviously they're going to tell you that it's, like when all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And when all you've got is a Bible, everything looks like a ghost or a demon, right? So like, it doesn't surprise me that a religious official would reinforce that and be like, oh yeah, it's definitely seeing ghosts, and here's some holy water. Like he's not going to be like, actually, you need to take 200 milligrams of the oxycodone or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
But I also don't want to discount, like,
he was a teacher at a university. So the way my family saw it is that they were taking me to the best of the best. Like they were taking me to the uppermost expert that they could find.
That's what I'm saying. Is it's unfortunate that it turned that was where they turned to. But
and I don't mean to discount your explanation of perhaps it was imagination, because that's certainly a kind of...
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably
I'm a very creative person. And then, like, I was the type of kid who would see something disturbing in a book, and then I would go back and look at it again, So
so you combine that,
it became more and more. Yeah, it made more and more sense that maybe my brain just kind of hoarded some of those images, and then when I was half asleep, it manifested. Like, I don't know.
You combine that with, your creative talents and the fact that it was sort of taboo, and that it was sort of, something that you were interested, even though you weren't supposed to be. And I think it's entirely reasonable to suggest that your brain might have been playing some tricks on you, and that you maybe kind of like, did you enjoy it? Yeah. See, that's what I'm. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, so I think that it's a cool story, but I think there's better candidate explanations than, the spirits of the dead have come back to addle the living. And I think you agree too. But we need to wrap up. Kristin, any final thoughts for us before we go?
No, I think that's a very good point about, like, auditory hallucinations, like the call the call screamer kind of brought that up too. And I guess, I mean, I could look into that. I haven't really had experiences like that as an adult. So I'm not sure if, like, how a child's mind would behave versus an adult's mind. I think that's an interesting angle to consider.
For sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much for the call, and we will catch you later, Kristin. Have a wonderful evening. That was an interesting one to wrap up on.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to go in a different, like, did you think it was going to be an exorcism?
I kind of did. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was kind of thinking. I was down for it, but.
And I know it was the slip of a tongue, but I kind of like the idea that maybe we had call screamers. That would be.
I actually know who's doing the screening tonight, and I could definitely see her being a call screamer.
I see. All right. Well, fair enough.
Yeah. I heard she's really bad at trivia, though. I don't know, but yeah, that's a unfounded assertion.
Unfounded, that's right.